G'day guys, how's it going? It's Locked here, and welcome back to the channel. I know I've been away for a while and haven't posted any content in the last few weeks. I can explain. So, during the weeks where I wasn't uploading, I came down with a severe case of hay fever. Um, and yeah, I lost my voice and stuff. So I couldn't actually record anything. But I'm back here now, and I want to get this video out straight away because yeah, it's a pretty big deal at the moment. So, Star Wars Battlefront Beta. I know a lot of you guys were really excited for this beta, as was I, in a way. But yeah, so this is going to be my impressions of the beta. Now, this isn't a review or anything at all. This is just my thoughts on the beta and what the impressions that the beta left on me as to where this game was going. And yeah, sort of, will I be getting the game, you know, what I liked, what I disliked and stuff. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? So for those of you who missed out, Star Wars Battlefront's beta ran for about 5 or 6 days on the Xbox One, PS4 and PC. And it's actually one of EA's most popular betas ever. Like 9 million people played the game over that weekend. So yeah, it was really popular. However, the beta has been quite heavily criticized from what I've seen across the internet, but a lot of those issues can be resolved, and hopefully DICE is working their asses off to fix these issues before launch on November 18th, I think. November 18th, 19th or 17th, one of those two. So, yeah, what did we get access to? So, we got access to 2 multiplayer modes, one called Walker Assault, which is sort of a new twist on one of DICE's older game modes from Battlefield called Rush. We got Drop Zone, which is a Star Wars twist on King of the Hill. And we also got a survival mode on Tatooine. Now, I'm going to start off with the survival mode, get that out of the way really quickly. So the survival mode, like I said, was on Tatooine. You could play solo or you can play with a friend via split screen and also via online. I'm really happy that the single player component of Battlefront will include a split screen function. Unlike another AAA title that is coming out this year, Halo 5, I'm looking at you. But yeah, it's really good to see the split screen co-op come back into the single player component. However, in saying that, I just found this survival mode just really boring and generic. But yeah, it's just boring. It's not really anything different from what we've seen in other survival modes in other games, like the zombies mode in Call of Duty or the old firefight mode from Halo. Yeah, it's just basically a standard, you know, waves of enemies come at you and you have to kill them all. Yeah, there's nothing really much to say about the survival mode, really. I really wanted to enjoy it, but I just really couldn't. Now, hopefully the survival mode will get a little bit more challenging and interesting, because during the beta, we only had access to the first 6 waves and medium difficulty, which made it completely, really, like, just short and really simple. So hopefully those other difficulties and those extra ways will add something else to this survival mode, because it really needs it at the moment. Some new types of enemies, maybe TIE fighters or something, strafing. I don't know, that's up to DICE for what they want to do. But yeah, it was just really boring, and I didn't spend any time really in it. I think I played like 2 games. Yeah, unfortunately that's what I can say about the single player mode. Now, when Battlefront launches, we have been told that we will be getting these mission things, as well as survival and another game mode which escapes my mind at the moment. But we haven't really seen anything on the missions, so hopefully they'll boost up the single player experience of Battlefront. And yeah, so let's move on to the multiplayer content, which is where I spent most of my time. I'm going to start off with Drop Zone, because it's a lot simpler to explain than Walker Assault. So Drop Zone was a small 8-on-8 King of the Hill style game mode. Basically you had 2 teams, the Rebels and the Empire, competing for drop pods that were falling from the sky. You activate the drop pod, it charges up, and once it's fully charged, you've capped the pod. Point gets added to your score sheet, and first to 5 pods wins, or whoever owns the most pods at the end of the game. So yeah, I found this game mode quite fun. It was small scale, competitive, just the way I like my first person shooters normally. And yeah, that was basically it. It was really fun. As soon as you get the pods, your team got a bunch of power-ups that you can use on the enemy. But even so, like if say the enemy like swarm the drop pod just as it caps, they can get all the power-ups as well that pops out. So, it was really close games that I was playing, and yeah, it turned out to be a lot of fun. If you're into that competitive sort of stuff, you'll definitely like this game mode. So let's get into the big stuff, the stuff that allows you to play with all the little goodies that DICE has to offer in this game. Walker Assault. Now, Walker Assault is one of 2 big modes in Star Wars Battlefront. The other one being Supremacy, which is sort of like, from what I've heard, is like Conquest from Battlefield and the original Battlefront games. The player counts in both these modes are the same. They're 40 players, 20 on 20. So it's a lot smaller scale than Battlefield, and a lot smaller scale than the original Battlefronts, which I will get to in a minute. But yeah, so Walker Assault was basically the Empire had to protect these AT-AT walkers that would walk through the map. Once they got to the end, they would blow, if any of them survived, that is, they would blow up the shield generator, and the Empire would win. The rebels, on the other hand, were trying to destroy them, and how they did this was by activating these uplink stations. The longer that these uplink stations are on, the more time you have to deal damage to the AT-ATs when Y-wing bombers come in and knock out their shields. The Empire is trying to keep these deactivated for as long as possible, which in turn gives the rebels less time to deal damage against the walkers. This happened 3 times in a row. The rebels were given 3 opportunities to do damage to the walkers, and yeah, that was basically it. What I really liked about Walker Assault was that it gave you access to the entire Star Wars Battlefront sandbox. It gave you access to ground vehicles, air vehicles, power-ups, all of them. It also gave you access to heroes, and it just felt like traditional Battlefront. Unlike Drop Zone, where it's a bit more scaled down, and it's more for those close quarters engagements and CQB fighting and stuff like that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this mode. So I'm going to get the pros with the beta out of the way first, because I believe that there's a lot of potential with this game, and I want to get all the good stuff out of the way first. So the first thing that I really liked about the gameplay was the game was the graphics. The graphics are absolutely freaking amazing. DICE, you guys are artists. Like, I couldn't stop just looking at the skyboxes, the terrain, the textures. It was beautiful to look at. Stunning visuals. The sound design as well was spot on. Perfect Star Wars sounds. The TIE fighters, the X-Wings, everything just sounded Star Wars. Another great job in the sound design parts department. Gameplay wise, now the shooting mechanics, I really liked the shooting mechanics. I liked how the reticule was sort of universal, so that because Battlefront is a multi-view game, you can either play it in first or third person, depending on your preference. The reticule design had to be designed so that both views you could use effectively, and the reticule and the aiming is just perfect. I would have liked, I know you could do this on PC, but I would have liked on the consoles to scale back the camera so you're not so close in third person, but they might have had that in there. I don't know, I didn't see that in the settings. But yes, that's the only criticism I have of that. The guns, we had only got access to 4 guns, but there will be many at launch, according to DICE. So the guns that we got access to, the Rebel Blaster Rifle, Battle Rifle. Sorry guys, I've got Halo on the mind. It's coming out on Tuesday, and I'm really excited for it. So, the Rebel and the Imperial Blaster Rifles, they're more long range, heavy dealing damage, very accurate. The Rebel Rifle is a bit more faster firing than the Imperial Rifle, but it does less damage. Then we have the Blaster Pistol, the DH-17, I think it's what it's called. And then we had the DLT-15, or something like that. And these two were really close quarter weapons. I really liked using these weapons on Drop Zone, where it was more close range. And during the Echo Base section of Walker Assault, where you're fighting the Rebels and the Imperials sort of inside the map, not the map. What is in my English today, guys? It's horrible. I know. Inside the base and in the catacombs and stuff, but they weren't really that useful. Mainly in Walker Assault, especially in the outdoor areas. They were mainly useful in Drop Zone. That's where I found them the most useful, and everyone was using them in there. But yeah, so the guns were pretty cool. Now, another thing that Battlefront offers is these star card systems, and the star card system is basically 3 power-ups that you can have, and they're different. So you got a left, a right, and a top. And the top one has these sort of charge counters on it, and you can pick these up throughout the map, and they last with you. So like, say I picked up 20 charge counters in a game of Walker Assault, and then I went over to Drop Zone. Those 20 counters wouldn't move over, which I thought was really cool. The only 2 abilities that we got, and that use charge counters, was a personal shield, which was a little overpowered. It lasted for way too long, and it had a really quick recharge rate. But I'm sure DICE are working on balancing that. Again, it is just a beta. And the other one that we got was, it was an ion shot, which basically changed your weapon to shoot ion bolts, which did bonus damage, which were useless against infantry, but they did pretty good damage against vehicles. The other abilities that we got was a jetpack, sniper rifle, and grenade, as well as an ion grenade, and a sort of a perk which allowed you greater accuracy at longer distances or something like that. I didn't use it. I'm only just stuck with the jetpack, the grenade, and either ion shot or personal shield, depending on which side I'm playing on Walker Assault, or whether I'm playing Walker Assault or Drop Zone. So yeah, I think the mechanics worked very well. The game looks absolutely gorgeous, and there's a lot of fun to be had in Star Wars Battlefront. But now I'm going to get into some criticism. And this is my main criticism of Star Wars Battlefront. Now I understand that the game is a reboot of the Star Wars Battlefront franchise, but this game pays completely no homage whatsoever to Battlefront 1 and 2, which came out, I think Battlefront 1 came out 2003, Battlefront 2 came out 2005. I know Battlefront 2 went alongside with Episode 3. But yeah, both games were really big and massive sandboxes, and they were really fun. They were part of my childhood as a gamer, and sort of forged me into the gamer I am today. But this title doesn't, continue with what Battlefront started. I expected this game to either do better than Battlefront 2, or at least be on par with other Battlefront 1 or 2, okay? I mean, that's sort of how you properly do a reboot, in my opinion. But yeah, so that's my main criticism, is that this game pays completely no homage whatsoever. They've taken out a lot of content, such as space battles. They've taken out Galactic Conquest, a lot of the single player campaign. Although Rise of the Empire didn't have really any story, the missions were still really fun. They were still really fun to play, and really challenging. Like the last level, which was the Battle of Hoth, you get to complete the whole mission in under 20 minutes. Now, to anyone who's not played Battlefront 2's campaign or not got up to Hoth, you wouldn't know this, but Hoth, completing that mission in under 20 minutes is nearly impossible. It is a really hard mission to do, especially since most of the game you have to play as Darth Vader, and he walks very slowly. So yeah, no campaign, no space battles, no galactic conquest, instant action. Now, instant action was basically just load off a map and play offline, but instant action had a whole variety of maps that weren't even in a campaign or galactic conquest. And yeah, it was just a really fun way to just load up a map and play. But that's not going to happen now. With the multiplayer side of things, now then again, Battlefront really only had, you know, Conquest, CTF, and Assault, which is basically like get up to a certain amount of kills and you win. Get to a certain amount of points and you win. So really generic game modes. But you gotta remember that these games came out early 2000s, you know, and yeah, they were just really, I mean, they weren't really new, but they were just really fun for the time. Anyway, this game does offer a whole lot of variety in its game modes, but they're nowhere near the scale of the original two Battlefronts. This game's multiplayer has been scaled down in terms of size and also in terms of player count. The two biggest modes in Star Wars Battlefront are only 40 players big. The original two Battlefronts could have up to 64 players. Battlefield has 64 players nowadays. So why isn't DICE continuing this 64 player trend? I was at least expecting Supremacy, which is supposed to be Conquest, to possibly have that 64 player limit, but it's not. It's still 40 players, and it's really small scale. A lot of the other modes, in fact all the other modes, besides Supremacy and Warfare Assault, 8 on 8, which I believe is Blast, Cargo, Droid Run maybe, and Drop Zone. Other game modes such as Hero Hunt, I believe, Hero versus Villain, and Fighter Squadron are all 12 on 12. These are really small game modes when you compare it to Battlefront, and Battlefront is very similar to Battlefield. So, I mean, Battlefield's smallest mode is Rush, and that is, I believe it's 48 players or 32 players, which is, you know, it's on par with the biggest mode in Star Wars Battlefront, and I'm really disappointed seeing this this game just taking out everything that made the original two really good. I didn't say bad, I meant good. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about some issues that the actual game has. First of all, I'm going to talk about spawning. Now, spawning in Battlefront is really broken at this point in time. Basically, it affects both game modes, but I'm going to start off with Drop Zone. Drop Zone spawns are meant to keep the players safe and allow them to get close to the drop pod in order to, you know, have this competitive tug-of-war effect which the game mode achieves, or tries to achieve. But the problem is that the game spawns you on the opposite side of the map from where the pod is. So unless you've got a jetpack, you're not even going to get near the pod by the time the other team caps it. And this also works for the other team, right? It's just like you kill the whole team, well, at least 30% of it. You start capping the pod, and until the next pod drops, you will not see a single enemy player because they just spawn so far away. And it's really breaks at the game mode, because the game mode's supposed to be, you know, this competitive tug of war. It's just whichever team kills the majority of the enemy team first and activates the pod wins. And most games that I found were, you know, 5-0, 4-1, you know, they weren't really close at all. And I guess you could say, yeah, that was also down to player skill, but I think it mainly had to do with the spawning. Now I'm going to talk about the spawning in Walker Assault. Walker Assault spawning is even more broken. First, and it's mainly to do with the rebel spawn. So the rebels have basically 2 spawn points per wave, per uplink wave is what I like to call it. And the Imperials can just flank around these spawn points and just spawn camp the rebel spawns. A lot of players I actually saw when the game like switched from Empire to Rebels, everyone who was just switched to Rebels just left. I had a game where we had a full team of 20, and when we got switched over to the Rebels, we went down to like 14. 6 players just left because they didn't want to play Rebels. And it was, you know, it was bad for our team because we lost that game. But yeah, like, the spawns just made Walker Assault pretty unbalanced. The Rebels couldn't progress into the Imperial spawn. There was a big wall there saying, no, do not progress past this point or we will kill you. You know, where was that for the Rebel spawn? One time we actually had 2 ATSTs, you know, come around the back and just spawn camp us there for like 5 minutes. While the rest of the Imperials just dug in onto the uplink stations and we couldn't even get close to them anymore. You know, it was, the spawns were just ridiculous, as well as when we were being spawn trapped at one spawn, the game didn't pick up that, and it didn't move us to another spawn point which was just safer. It kept spawning us at the same freaking point, and it got a lot of people really pissed off about the game. And yeah, that's basically the main unbalancing issue. Another thing that I really didn't like was there are no 2-seater vehicles. I couldn't grab my partner and say, hey, I just got this ATST power up, I'm in an ATST, jump in and be my co-pilot or whatever. The snow speeders, you know, where, like, the tail gunner. Like, you know, another thing that made Battlefront really cool was that cooperation between players in the same vehicle. Like the AT-AT on Hoth in Battlefront 2, you know, one guy would control the turrets, the main cannons, the other guy would control the side guns, and you know, it sort of forced you to cooperate with your, you know, your tank partner person thing. I don't know. Yeah, it just, that's just something that gets on my nerves as well with this game. Hopefully with DLC packs, maybe. Oh god. We'll get some 2-player vehicles, but again, DLC. It seems that EA has taken a lot of time in making this game, but only giving us half of it at launch, releasing the other half as DLC packs, just like a lot of games are doing, unfortunately, this year and last year. Destiny, you know, they've got up to like 4 expansion packs now, I think, and the game still doesn't feel complete. And then this game as well, Battlefield Hardline, I'm sure I think it might have already had a few DLC packs. But yeah, it's just every AAA developer, including especially EA, is just selling their games half-assed on launch, and then selling the rest of it as time progresses. So yeah, there's just a lot of problems with Battlefront. Some of them are fixable. The spawns are fixable. The unbalancing is fixable. But the absolute no homage, and this game being completely different to the original 2 Battlefronts, this will not be fixed. Maybe when, you know, all the DLC packs are launched, I think there's going to be, like I said, 4 of them. So if you let's take a thing of it like this: 4 DLC packs, and we get 4 planets per DLC pack. I think I heard somewhere. So how many is that? 4 times 4, that's 16, plus Jakku, 17, plus launch planets. That's about 21 planets. So yeah, that's a lot of planets. But again, we have to pay for the whole other half of the game. It's going to cost you $50 American, mind you, so it's about $70 AU for the season pass. It's ridiculous. It's stuff like this is just tearing the gaming industry apart. You know, we're going to go into another crash, possibly sometime soon, because of these publishing idiots who think that their games are just to make them money, and, you know, taking absolutely no consideration to what the community wants, what the fans want. Anyway, that's enough of the rant. And that's really all I have to say on Battlefront. It's got a lot of issues, but there is still a lot of fun to be had in this game. I'm not exactly hyped for it. I think I'll be getting the game. But I definitely am not pre-ordering it. I'm not buying this stupid season pass bullshit for the other half of the game. I'll probably play it for a few months. And I'll be probably making videos on it in the future. But yeah, so that's, again, all I have to say on Battlefront. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you do, don't forget to leave a like and a comment. I'm sorry I've been inactive. Again, I'm going to try and make it up to you guys. Unfortunately, school turns back on. The sick illness hit me right in the middle of where I could record and upload, you know, a video, 2 videos a week and shit. So, yeah. Unfortunately, school's back on. But it's only a 6-week term, which means, you know, all my assignments are due in at the same time. But it means that I'll be able to get a lot more content to you sooner. I am working on something special. So do stay in tune for that. Also next Tuesday, Halo 5 is coming out. I'm so excited for that. Paid off my pre-order today. Yeah, it's going to be great. I'll be definitely doing a complete Let's Play. I know a lot of you guys have been asking me where's part 3 of ESO. And I'm not really sure what to do with that yet. I will have a channel. I'll have an update, an info thingy out soon, to where I'll explain what I'm doing and what's going on with the ESO stuff. But yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like if you did, and if you want to see more Star Wars Battlefront content, I was along with Halo 5 Guardians. Do click that subscribe button. Leave in the comments also what you guys thought on the Battlefront Beta, whether you'll be getting the game, what you liked, what you disliked, all that sort of stuff. I'm really excited to hear your opinions on the game. So anyway guys, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.